Hey everybody, welcome to the Snow Pro Show. We are live from Sowers. This is a special one because this is the PA Snow Pro Show.
Nice job.
All that practice paid off. But we want to ask you a few questions. Have you been affected by increased snow insurance costs? Have you been dropped by a carrier? Have you had to actually walk away from jobs because the contracts were just bad and unfair? Have you been pulled into a slip and fall when you were actually just following the scope of work in the contract? Would you like to see 25 to 38% reduction in your insurance premiums? Well, I think we all would.
Absolutely.
So that's why we brought the president of Sowers Snow and Ice, Steph Sowers, to hear from her today.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Ken. So guys, I'm going to talk about where we've been on our journey with legislation since about 2015. I want to first share with you that we got more involved at that time period because our policy increased from one year to the next from $15,000 to $150,000. Yeah.
That's just crazy. I can't even think of those numbers.
Yep, and I mean that's an extreme case, Ken, but I know these guys are having the same issues. We just had our open house the other day, right? And I went around talking to the contractors that were here. I must have heard from 10 of them, varying degrees of how they have been affected by this unfair contract language. There was one that specifically stood out to me. Young man trying to run his business. He was experiencing an 87% increase in his policy premiums from last year.
Yeah, I talked with him too. I couldn't believe it. I didn't believe it at first.
I know. And they're also reducing his coverage. So he has to walk away from the contracts that he has, pay an increased premium, and I mean, I hope they hire a salesman for him. He's got to rebuild his business practically.
Yeah, what's he supposed to do?
Yeah, so I've been hearing your stories, guys. I know that these problems are out there. And what we've been doing since 2015, that's when I introduced this, our challenges to State Representative Tom Mert. Honestly, he thought our biggest problem was that we had to realign parking bumpers after a snow event, or we had to repair damages. He had no idea what we were up against.
If only it was that simple, right?
I know, that's the easy part, right? So within 4 months of my conversations with Representative Mert, he actually introduced the ASCA's model legislation and introduced a bill. He got 6 co-sponsors to join on, which was great.
That is good.
8 months after that, we wanted to share our stories with other legislators and senators out in Harrisburg. So a group of Pennsylvania snow contractors got together with ASCA Executive Director Kevin Gilbride. We all got together. We had about 30 appointments that day. And we felt so good coming out of that day. We felt very encouraged. Many of the legislators had the same reaction as Representative Mert. They had no idea these increasing policy premiums that we were getting pulled into, liability being passed on to us unfairly.
Well, let's be honest. What we're presenting is just a common sense bill.
It is. We're just trying to bring fairness back to the industry.
Yep.
So a lot of these legislators told us that if the bill got to them, they would support it.
It's great to hear.
Great to hear. The chairwoman of the insurance committee invited us back within a couple months, and she asked us to testify in front of her committee. So myself, Kevin Gilbride, and ASCA's counsel, Josh Ferguson, we all gave a different viewpoint of the challenges we were facing, and we had about 25 legislators sitting around the table, and they had the opportunity to ask us any question they had about what this bill really meant. We came out of that meeting, we had a couple things we needed to adjust, and then it was to go to vote. And it did.
It sounded great. You felt good, right? It
sounded great. That was the plan. 10 days before the hearing for that vote, we got a phone call.
I can only imagine what this is.
Yeah, 5 organizations opposed the bill pretty harshly. So
I'm guessing they all had deep pockets and lobbyists.
I think they may have. So we went back within 30 days, and we had a meeting with them. And we got 3 of the 5 opposing organizations to go neutral.
That's awesome.
It was great. But there's 2 left. And the one was still very strongly against it when we left the meeting. And the other one actually didn't even show up.
Of course
not. Big business pushing small business around, right?
Right.
So honestly, things got a little stale for about 12 to 18 months. Not a lot could happen. We tried to, get our foot in those doors. We walked into the one guy's office in Harrisburg. We Googled where he was, and we walked in and tried to get his attention. Emails, phone calls, anything we could do. But we kind of I couldn't believe these two organizations were causing such a standoff.
Well, we can't doubt your effort.
No, absolutely not. So over the course, from that time to this time, the ASCA has worked with other groups like ours, and they have gotten laws passed in other states.
It's great.
And in those states, they're seeing a great result: 25 to 38% reduction in insurance premiums.
We love that.
The clients are looking for better service providers. They have skin in the game now. They can't just make a decision and pass their liability on unfairly.
That's all we can ask for.
They're hiring the right contractors. They're having a better scope of work. So in those states, though, the ASCA was successful in setting up a relationship with another industry's another industry's association,
okay,
like the Landscape Association, for example, and use their lobbyist that's on retainer. We weren't able to make a connection like that in Pennsylvania, so we needed to raise the money to hire a lobbyist. We needed to raise $60,000. The good news is we have done that.
That's awesome.
Yep, so about 10 contractors have gotten together to raise that $60,000. We've enlisted the help of Jim Davis of Cozen O'Connor. He is the lobbyist working on our behalf right now, and what he's doing is building a coalition of legislators in Harrisburg right now for us.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
Well, I know what Jim has asked us to do. While he's working on building a coalition of legislators in Harrisburg, he needs us to build a coalition of snow plowing professionals. So that's what we're doing. Through this medium, through others, through this website, we're trying to raise up a community. But you know what I've heard, Steph? I've heard people say, well, I'll check my calendar, see if I'm available on November 19th. Well, I'll just see if I'm busy.
And I know it's tough. They're transitioning from landscape to snow season.
And especially if you're the owner-operator. But here's the question. I think you're asking the wrong question. The real question is, can you and your business afford not to come? Can you afford not to get this legislation passed? And let's be real. Harrisburg only responds to money and to faces. So we already have the money. That's the best thing. We're not asking you to donate any of your money, any of your profits. But what we are asking is for your presence, for you to be there. Our elected leaders need to see all of our faces together. So, what can you do? Go to the pasnowpros.com website. Register on that website that you're coming on November 19th, Tuesday, November 19th. And join us in Harrisburg that morning. The website will tell you where and when and how to get there and what all we're doing there. And then there's one last thing, there's a bonus. I want you to tell us your story so that I can put together sheets collecting of all of our stories so that not only do we show up there in person, but we leave our faces and our stories with those legislators.
Let's leave the weight on our shoulders with them.
Absolutely. So contact us on the email site, on the website, and do your part. Register. Join us on Tuesday, November 19th. And if you can, send us your story.
Absolutely. We need you guys.
All right. Thanks. Have a great day.